When you brought up BitClout, I was like, oh no, what's going on here? Wait, what? But yeah, did get rug pulled at the end, but it was interesting. Part of it seemed to be the consensus thing where people didn't opt in to BitClout or not BitClout. I don't think, and then yeah, it just became a rug. But who could blame them? Everyone was rugging everyone back then. You know, it was wild.
Yes, BitClout was a very interesting time. I think that there was probably the best parts were taken from there and ported over to Threads. Unfortunately, I don't think that people are going to really use Threads because there's no politics, there's no news, which is the big drawing factor for Twitter. And the larger issue is that Twitter is now giving compensation to creators, which was not there before, to people like Mr. Beast and Elon Musk and some of the other people, giving them a share of the ad revenue. Instagram has actually lowered people's contribution as to how much they would get. And so long form being YouTube, short form being TikTok, and Instagram and Threads trying to pull away from those two platforms. The reality is that they're not really innovating, they're just copying. And some iterations, either lateral moves or so forth. So Threads is really going to have to bring its A game in order for me to leave Twitter. Personally, I won't leave Twitter. I've been there for so long. So, and I think the people that it pulled from Instagram don't really use Twitter.
The kinds of people that like to discuss the news and politics and even some timeless topics using text are already on Twitter, and that core group of 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 creators is not going to switch to Threads. And the kinds of people that like to post images on Instagram are not the kinds of people that are going to create great content on Threads. So I think Threads is dead on arrival. It does not bring anything new. And if anything, the graph there is more curated and there is more censorship than there is on Twitter. So why on earth would I use Threads? As for BitClout and its ilk, there are multiple problems with decentralized social media. Who is going to pay for the hosting? Are users going to do private key management just for posting? Is the fact that 0.01% of people are getting censored enough to drive the other 99.99% of people off the platform? No. Censorship, just like dictatorships, exists at the fringes. What they do is they take the loudest voices, the leaders of the opposition, and jail them. And that's not enough for the masses to move. And unfortunately, that same dynamic applies in censored social media. They're not censoring all of it. They're just censoring the bleeding edge, and everybody else just falls in line. Social media is more than just typing a bunch of text. Modern social media demands video. It demands streaming video. It demands audio. It demands caching and storing all of this very expensive content and delivering it with very low latency. Eventually, it'll demand AI and 3D and translation and transcription and auto-generated music and auto-generated art and auto-generated animations. Who's going to pay for that? It always has to be bleeding edge. People want to be on the bleeding edge. They want the latest features. They don't want black and white when color exists. They don't want 2D when 3D exists. So because of that, social media will be a moving target, and it will be very hard for the decentralized train to catch social media. That said, there are elements of decentralization that could bleed into social media. But really, at this point, the best way to proceed is to lower switching costs and to have many social media platforms rather than try to recreate old social media in decentralized form.
Very good points, Nawal. I don't think social media will be decentralized in the way the world thinks it will be. Having said that, I also think there's a core problem of how decentralization approached social media for the longest time. I think there's a platform called Farcaster that is trying to do something else, but they've raised money, and I think they may make something out of this. Having said that, again, Farcaster's current clients are just clones of Twitter, and that just doesn't work. And yeah, social media is going to evolve so quickly simply because it is where people spend most of their time, and wherever most of our time goes, that place has to evolve and keep our time. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens.
I'm not able to use it on my EU. I'm not able to use Threads on my EU associated number count. So because my Play Store is associated with that, but I have a second burn phone, kind of a phone, which is associated to multiple SIM cards. And I got a chance to use Threads, and honestly, I couldn't sustain it for more than a week, because it feels like you've given microblogging in the hands of crazy children, and they kind of go smashing the tabs all around. I don't know. I don't enjoy it at all. It's just kind of too big of a mix. I personally threw myself out of it. Maybe we'll just step in once it's a bit more optimized and a bit more better.
I myself tried out Threads last week. Didn't spend too much time on it. Felt turned off by the pre-populated content in my timeline since I used a burner Instagram account. So had I actually been following people that I'm interested in, maybe I would have had a significantly different experience. But just saw this tweet today about Threads that I found interesting.
I think one of the mistakes was not rolling out a desktop version simultaneously. Greatly caps the amount of content you can type on a touchscreen interface. It's super frustrating. No search, no desktop version, no stock ticker tags. Regrettable.
I think the complete block of the EU, the European users, which are still quite dominant in the Instagram, I think that's a big part of it as well. Because even with the VPN, you cannot use it anymore. So that obviously shows in the numbers. There are a lot of people who are using it, but for example, I cannot use it now. I don't even bother using it anymore. So I'm not sure whether it's a good choice to completely block some regions, because would I come now back later next year if they're gonna block the access there till the end of the year? Yeah, I have my account there, I have done something, but it's completely inactive for 4 months.